Hello, how are you? Thank you, Marika, for inviting me today, and thank you, Ed, for having me, and thank you very much for your patience. I'll be able to go to lunch very soon. I'm Philip Wood, and I've got a slide, which is great. Okay. I'm a founder of a company called Citizen. It's actually based here. I curate and produce objects and use consumer goods as vehicles for art thinking and ways of reflecting back cultural preoccupations, maybe. I want to say thank you to Doris, actually. She was lovely. That was really sweet. I really appreciated that. And I also like the Ted Hughes. Thank you. That was great. So I didn't really know how to use them. Why does nobody know how to fucking use these? Okay. Right, so I was invited to come here. I don't even know who the audience was, and I'm still not quite sure who all you guys are. But a conference on inspiration seemed to me quite ironic, slightly oxymoronic, in the sense of, like, you guys need to go to a fucking conference to be, inspired, really? Jesus Christ, you need to get out more. But then, and I didn't really know what to say about inspiration. But it got me thinking, and I started to think, my God, it's almost like a product, isn't it? You want to go and buy inspiration. You want to go and spend your money. And I'm very grateful to give money to Ed, because he seems to be actually doing something really, really useful for us. But prior to coming here, I didn't really understand what you're all about. So it seemed to me just like a product, and it's almost kind of, some of the points that we've been touching upon, I think maybe we've spoken about fear, the location of fear in ourselves personally, and maybe where it is culturally. And it got me thinking about this guy, Edward Bernays, who was the father of, well, what was initially called propaganda in the First World War, and then got happily turned into public relations. Yes, we're in public relations, that's right. He was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. Came to America, started his business, became very, very celebrated. And I think there's some nascence there of what seems to run through our culture and run through some of the decisions about how to make these propositions, or you want to call them stories or products or consumer goods or whatever you want to call them. And it seems to me, this a mild amount of fear, Are your teeth clean enough? Are your hands clean enough? Do you really feel very comfortable driving that car that you've got? Because, okay, if you're happy with it, okay. So, what was I going to say? The culture, there's a kind of culture of fear, and I'm not trying to be too cynical, but there is something, and I think for me, inspiration isn't out there. It's not like the 18th century where you have these alchemists that believe there's a fifth element, the ether. And if they can encapsulate where this ether is and contain it, then maybe like dark matter, maybe this is how the Large Hadron Collider is going to be seen. That was discovered, this new matter. But it's not out there. It's actually within us. And I think that fear, as well as being political, is very personal, and one needs to be very aware that, we shouldn't just be fearful of those we're told to be fearful, but we should kind of possibly, we're kind of fearful of ourselves. So that's kind of a cultural phenomenon, if you were, and we can see some interesting Lego interpretations here of various Abu Ghraib scenarios. These are going to come on sale next year. You think I'm serious. One of the things that we produce is this piece, which is it's a rose, and it's made from ballistic nylon. It's made from Kevlar. Just very kindly, the Museum of Modern Art last year chose this to be in their permanent collection, which was very nice of them. It's kind of, for me, a really interesting piece, because it's obviously this kind of culmination of hybridization, the idea that you can hybridize things to become a certain way, our own predilections to wanting to create things that aren't around, which is, both good and bad. But it's also very inspiring, because it kind of touches upon this thing that we're talking about, this notion of this mild fear. And if you're wearing this, if you're wearing this rose, you're going to be protecting yourself. Now, I don't quite know from what. Maybe a bullet. Maybe it's protecting your heart from breakage. Maybe it's protecting your soul from the devil. And this is a gift that's not there. Okay, all right. Okay. One of the things, another thing I was thinking about, oh, is this my counter? Okay. One of the things I was thinking about was, you know, so inspiration is everywhere. This is a guy in Nottingham, which is kind of in the north of England. He's a tailor called Paul Smith, and he's got quite a few stores around the world you might be familiar with. He wrote this book saying, you can find inspiration in everything. This is the cover. It's a very nice kind of cast polystyrene case to the book. It's quite interesting, actually. And the little asterisk comes down to here, and it says, and if you can't, so you can find inspiration in everything, and if you can't, you know, look again. And that seemed to me really, really critical, that it's not actually where inspiration is. You know, you aren't scientists. You don't need to go and find a fucking focus group, you know. It's about looking, you know. It's about the way of seeing the world, and that's essentially what I'm interested in. It's essentially the things that's moved me the most as a human being. There's those moments when I've had my perception, you know, altered slightly, and yes, there may have been hallucinogenic drugs involved, and there may have been art, or there may have been beauty, or there may have been people, or conversations, or food, but it's always been slightly uncomfortable, you know, and I've always had to kind of battle some of that fear, I think. So I just wanted to show you one of the pieces that maybe exemplifies this. This is a book we published, and we produce all sorts of things: sex toys, lighting, seating, jewelry. But this was a book. Actually, we didn't even produce the book. The book is the dummies from the publishing industry. Every time most publishers make a book, they make a blank copy. Now, this is very interesting because it's the object. It's nothing about the printed matter inside of it. It's nothing about the images, nothing about the layout of the InDesign file. It's just about the object, you know, the paper type, the binding, pagination. And it tells a story about what people think the thing may be. Now, we took these, we repackaged them. You see them vacuum sealed into kind of mylar bags. And inside was a lovely little library card, which is kind of de-embossed. And it kind of told the story of why we thought this object was really precious and why we thought it was really beautiful. Now, you know, these things were being thrown away. You know, I'm smart enough to try and get $95 out of you suckers to buy this thing. But it's actually an utterly unique object. They're all one-off, unique, mass-produced craft objects, which is kind of pretty phenomenal, really. They're also blanks. So they're there for you to write your own story, for you to write your own narrative, so to speak. So when somebody comes up and tells you they're a storyteller, when they're really an engineer or product designer, you know, just ask them what fucking interesting story they've got, you know, because I'd be really interested to hear a really good story, an amazing story. I think these books are really an amazing story because they're full of potential. And one of the things that obviously impedes potential is our fears, our slight fears of things. And what Marika and Adrian and I and a few others did the last few days was make you all a present that you can take away from here today. And if you look under your seats, or actually stuck under your seats, you should find, and you might want to do this because these are going to be limited edition, you might find a little button or a badge, depending on what continent you're from. Now, this is a Kevlar badge. Just made from Kevlar, ballistic nylon. And we're just offering it to you. I've got mine on already. And that's what's protected me from any fear I might have of coming up here and talking to you all. And you're very welcome to take them home and wear them like your Superman cape, or your underwear on the outside of your trousers, whatever your lucky rabbit's foot. You have your own Kevlar badge. There it is. Take care. We want you to take care. Feel secure that you can go and experience, you know, the world with your eyes fully wide open, and hopefully then be touched by inspiration. Thank you.